I know there are probably a lot of other places that you could be in. No?
Okay.
Yes.
Now, yes.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. I know there are probably a lot of other places you could be instead on this hot evening. We're really grateful that you share interest in this county center of government project. And if you just came here for the air conditioning, that's fine too. We're glad to have you. I'm Monica Salvage. I'm the communications director for Tompkins County, and I'd like to take you through what you're gonna see in the next hour, hour and a half. This is the fifth and final community engagement session of this first round of community engagement for this project. We visited the towns of Groton and Enfield and Dryden, and most recently last night, we were in the town of Caroline. And so tonight we're live streaming from the Legislature Chambers in Ithaca. And so besides the people who are here in attendance, people can watch this meeting on the YouTube channel live or come back to the recording later and watch it at their convenience. So what's the purpose of this meeting?
Chamber, Center of Government jokes while we're waiting. Costs $30 million in 2020, $50 million.
Let's do it the old-fashioned way, by hand. So why are we here tonight? Mainly to gather information from residents about what they would like to see in the center of government building. And that includes how they're currently experiencing government services and how they think we could improve that access, and also to inform the design of that project. And since this project will involve the deconstruction of 3 structures in the DeWitt Park Historic District, these meetings and the online survey is really meant to provide input for residents as provided under the Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act. So what are we gonna see tonight? We're gonna have a few introductions, then we're gonna talk about the project history, why are we even doing this, and how did we get here today? What are the visions and the goals of this project? And then you're gonna see where currently county departments are located, scattered throughout the area, and then what we propose where certain departments are gonna go in the center of government. You also hear more about future engagement activities that we have planned beyond this first round, a little bit about the project schedule that we're envisioning, and then also we wanna open it up for discussion with the audience, facilitate feedback session, Q&A, and really get input from residents. And then we're gonna wrap it up with some information about next steps, about how you can stay involved with this project, and as it progresses, and where the information will be available, and how you can have access to that. So before we start with the actual presentation, I'd like to make some introductions of the project team. So we have our county administrator, Corsa Kumpfi, our deputy administrator, Norma Jane. We have Aral Lamaro, our facilities director, and really the program manager for this project for the last 20+ years. And then we have Bernard Best and Quay Thompson from Holt Architects. And we also have a number of legislators here in attendance today, and I'm just gonna go around as I see them. Randy Brown, Veronica Pillar, Dan Klein, Mike Lane, and Shauna Black, and Mike Sigler. So.
Anne's on the screen.
Oh, and Ann Corman on the screen, yes, on Zoom. I don't want to forget about her, yes. So, yeah, so I think we can get started with the project history, Aral.
Trying to see where it's the best spot. Maybe here.
So good evening. Thank you for coming out on this hot, humid day. I've been in several of our buildings today because we've had 4 problems at buildings around this complex. So the idea of creating a center of government is actually not a new idea. It's one that, as was mentioned by Monica, I've been involved in for 25 years. And I compare this to, my wife enjoys using a crock pot or slow cooker to prepare meals a lot. And so this project is more like a slow cooker crock pot meal, not a microwave meal. You don't just throw things together and throw it in the microwave and it takes 5 to 10 minutes. This is that, slow cooker is about 8 hours. And in our situation, it's been like 25 years. So, you kind of put the ingredients in and it takes time. So we've done studies, we've assessed the needs, we've hired consultants, we've purchased properties, all in preparation for the Center of Government project. And it takes patience, careful planning, and time to let kind of those ingredients simmer. And we're at the point now that, you're starting to smell the aroma. It's filling the room, the kitchen. And, we're about ready to kind of taste it, right? You want to open it up and taste it because you can't wait. And people are asking, so are we going to eat now? So we're at that point now where we're ready to serve this crock pot meal. And really these community engagement sessions are like the taste test, where we're going out to the community and giving the community the opportunity to really see what we're planning to provide as part of this project. And it's really a well thought out and a really community involved project that we're trying to do. And that's why we've been going out to the community. A little kind of history and background. Over the past 25 years, many of the county departments are experiencing kind of outdated, overcrowded, and fragmented space. We have several departments that are renting space, and so we're trying to consolidate those into one location. Those lease costs are going up, so we're looking at taking them out of lease space and putting them in county-owned space. Also, the unified court system, which really occupies 75% of the main courthouse, just 2 buildings over. For the last 20 years, I've been involved in them, have been asking for more space. So over the years, the first move that happened about 12 years ago was moving the legislature from that building into this current space here. The next move was the Office for the Aging that was in the basement of the main courthouse, moving them over to the Human Services Annex. And really the third phase, which is the largest phase for them, is really moving out county clerk, which is in the basement of the main courthouse, and the district attorney's office, which is on the 3rd floor. So that's a significant driver because we have to find homes for those. We had told them 5 years ago that was going to happen, and we delayed it because of COVID, and also we were waiting to get this project approved. The other drivers are, we've also delayed building improvements in a few buildings, Building C, which is where Assessment, Board of Elections, and ITS are housed. So we've been holding off on making any improvements there, anticipating a center of government project. We didn't want to invest money there and then a few years later end up, either deconstructing those buildings and building a new center of government. On a day like today, we actually had 2 problems there. Our server room crashed at about 2:30. We were able to get that running. And then 2nd floor assessment, because those are old units that should be either replaced, but we don't want to do that if we're moving forward with this project. So why now? So the pressures have increased. The lease costs have gone up significantly as we're looking at some of the county departments that are leasing. Those rates are going up more than they have in the past. The state courts actually sent me an email about a month ago asking about when this was going to move forward so that they could start discussing their space in the courthouse. And as I said, these units, these systems in some of these older buildings are to the point where we've got to make a decision. Are we going to invest or wait until we do this project? So the time, I feel, is now to come up with a project that is going to be welcoming, sustainable, and a cost-effective space for our county departments and also for our residents. And also, I think in the long term, it's going to save money. It's going to create a vitality in the downtown complex. And it's a design, we're going to be designing a facility that actually is going to meet the needs of not only county departments, but also of our residents for now and for many years to come. Thank you. Turn it over to Norma now.
So I'm going to go ahead. The county's vision is to develop a future-forward county government facility that meets the evolving needs of the organization and the community. The project has several strategic objectives. The first one was to meet and projected office space requirements while ensuring flexibility to support future growth and change. The second is to exit out of the outdated leases and consolidate county departments to improve operational efficiencies. The third is to enhance service delivery by providing residents with a more integrated and accessible services all in one central location. The fourth, support equitable access for all community members through a thoughtful design and centrally located facility. To comply with our county's green building policy, which requires all major renovations and construction of buildings to meet at least the equivalent of LEED Silver standards, and this is slated to be a gold standard building. This commitment reflects the county's broader policy to conserve natural resources and energy and minimize pollution and promote long-term sustainability. Another goal is to maintain and enhance the economic vitality of the Ithaca downtown, reinforcing our ongoing investment to the heart of the community, and to complement and respect the character of the historic district, ensuring that new development aligns with the cultural and architectural integrity of the surroundings. And finally, it's to establish a unified government campus in the DeWitt Park, offering a more connected and recognizable county presence within the downtown core. I'm going to turn this over, I think, to Bernard at this point, and he'll go over how the departments will be affected by the transition.
I'm going to stand up so I can point. So the first thing we have here, hello?
Yeah, it's on.
All right, so the first slide that we have here is just a diagram showing how spread out the departments are currently. We have, if you look at the 4, 5, 7, and 8, that is the current campus in a location for the new building. We have assigned council and workforce are in Center Ithaca, which is number 1. Number 2 is the human services, the Office of Human Rights, sorry. And then the Human Services Annex houses the Office for the Aging and the Veteran Services. The Board of Elections is split into 2. Their offices are in what you see as number 6 here, and up on Hanshaw Road, they have the storage for the voting machines. The new plan calls for 13 of the departments to be in the new center of government building. And renovations to happen to the legislature office here at the chambers, and assigned council and workforce in the old jail, which would be fully renovated. All of those located on this center campus. The Board of Elections will move. Their goal is to have the offices with the storage, and they're currently looking for the final location for that right now. This is the current site. So if you look, the brighter yellow boxes, they are currently owned by the county. The old courthouse, upper left, old jail, the main courthouse, and then the 3 buildings that will be deconstructed. The red box denotes the area of the building. It won't be that large. It will cover a portion of that that's yet to be determined throughout the design process. And then this is the preliminary diagram that talks about how we're organizing the building. So we did individual meetings with each department, representatives for each department, and worked through the program and refined that to their needs. And then how often There's a current study looking at how often that they have public into their spaces. So this initial diagram is showing the first floor with the heavy load of public, and that would be the county clerk and the county office for the aging. What you see is the red dashed line that shows direct department programs, and then lobby and amenities and the core, the no other building services such as the stairs, elevators, toilet rooms, and that. The second floor would have assessment, veteran services, district attorney, and human rights, and it would also have the grand jury room. And we think of this as the first and second floor being connected, and they are the heavier public areas. As we move up through the building, third floor is showing county administration, finance, county attorney, and human resources. And the fourth floor is IT, and planning, and transportation, and then a shared break room for the whole building. So I'm going to turn this over to talk a little about the process to Kawhi.
Hey, good evening. Thank you for coming out. I'm going to talk a little bit about the community engagement process. The last slide that you saw from Bernard doesn't look anything like architecture yet, but it's getting close, and we're very excited to start to design. Before we start to design, though, we really need to understand the problem. It's not really fair to think that we can come up with appropriate solutions without fully defining the problem first. And part of the definition of what this building should be, we felt had to come from the community. So we're in the fourth of 5 community engagement meetings, tonight being the last one, and this one being televised. And there are 3 main components to what we're trying to do tonight. One, we want to inform the public about what the project is, sort of some of the major community goals. We're talking about some of the challenges in terms of the distribution of departments and the consolidation of departments. We see this building as a building that will not only make the county operate more efficiently from a staffing perspective, but our vision is that it also makes services distributed and the accessibility to services much higher, and distribution of services to residents much greater. So talking about the building and the project and what we know about it right now, get everyone up to speed on what it is. There's a QR code right here. I hope you picked up, there's a paper version of the survey. It's a 21 question survey, so it's not a whole lot of questions, but it's actually very extensive in terms of the types of information that we're gathering. I think today we may have 47 or 50 respondents to the survey already. We thank those people, but we would encourage you to, even people that aren't here tonight, share the QR code, share the link, with other residents so that they have the opportunity to inform the project. All of this information that we gather then, so sharing about the project, gathering information from the survey, which can be done tonight, or you can take it home if you do it digitally. We also wanted to give you the opportunity to engage with us in person. If you have questions or thoughts or vision, in fact, one of the questions in the survey, to give you an example, here are the primary sort of vision and goals of the community from Tompkins County. Is there anything we're forgetting? Like, is there a goal or a vision that you have for the project that, is something we haven't thought of yet? So they're pretty big picture questions, and I'd encourage you to sort of go through and help us think about the project. The second meeting, and this will be sometime probably late in July, we'll take all of the information that we hear from these 5 community engagement meetings, and we'll develop a couple of different design concepts for the building. So our intent is to share with you a few different versions of how this problem might be solved from an architectural perspective. We'll share with you Tompkins County's perspective on the pros and cons of each of these concepts and why they're sort of might be leaning more towards one than the other. But we want to hear your reaction to pros and cons, because the community employees will be working in this building every day, but the Tompkins County residents are going to be the people that this building really serves. So your input is critical. That will probably just be one meeting. It'll probably be here so it can be televised, but we'd like to bring all of the different municipalities together for that conversation of the multiple design options. And then the third group of meetings, again, will just be one meeting. This will be at the end of September. This is when we'll finish what we refer to as schematic design on the project. We'll have one option, and it'll take all of your feedback from the pros and cons of the various options, It might be close to one of the options, but it'll combine all of the things that people liked. It'll hopefully weed out any sort of cons or concerns that people had, and we'll share that single option at a point in design where we still have the flexibility to adapt. So we'll be able to take comments from that meeting, in effect, and steer how the building moves forward. So a lot of input today from the survey is sort of the primary way that we're collecting data, but we'd also encourage you to ask questions or engage, with us at in a couple more slides at the end of this meeting. And then the final thing that we wanted to talk through was this project schedule, overall project schedule. So you sort of know what to expect when. Right now, we've finished the programming phase. So as Bernard mentioned, we've met with each of the 17 departments probably about 3 times at this point. And we're thinking in terms of, how are they operating now? What are their space needs? And in the future, what are the foreseeable space needs? So we're planning for growth and expansion. This blue line represents the design phase. So we're at the very beginning, and you can see that it doesn't even look like a building yet. It's just what departments make sense to go on what floors, what departments work together and should be close to each other in the building, so very conceptual. The second and third meeting will all be in about the first third of this blue bar. So by the third point of this blue bar, the concept design, that people will know what the building is going to be, what it's going to look like. And then the rest of that time, about a year and a half, is spent creating the contract for construction. So every detail about the building, every material in the building will be defined so it can be competitively bid to contractors. So the design phase of the building will last until about the end of 2026, when we'll bid it, and we plan to award the design or the construction contract in January 2027. So that's when you can expect to start seeing a new building being built, on this site, beginning of 2027. And then we hope to move people into the new building at the beginning of 2029. So about 2 years of construction. So construction would last sort of conceptually beginning of 27 to beginning of 29. Parallel to that, we've started looking at the concept of the infill of this building, old jail and old courthouse, and who will go in these buildings, and we've test fit those departments. So we have sort of proof of concept of the renovation work, but we can't really start the renovation work until we move people out of these buildings into new center government, and then we'll do the renovation here and then backfill these buildings. So that design will happen sometime during construction of the new building, and we'll bid that project in time to begin construction, when we empty these 2 existing buildings. That portion of the project, will push into August, September of 2029. So in terms of wrapping up the entire capital project, we're looking at the end of 2029. So while the new building will finish around the beginning of 29, the renovations will wrap up around the end of 2029. Any questions on the schedule or the community engagement process? All right, why don't you take us home, Monica?
Thank you. So that concludes the presentation part of this meeting today, and now we really want to open it up to the public for questions and thoughts and ideas. We do ask that if you come up and speak into the microphone, because this is live streamed and we want everybody here and at home to be able to hear you properly. Are there any questions? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Robert Lynch, councilperson, town of Enfield. I was going to give other people a chance if they wanted to speak because, as some know, I did speak at the Enfield Community Engagement Session, which was on the 12th of June. And we raised a number of questions that night. Of course, that wasn't live streamed, and there were some legislators who were here tonight who didn't attend that meeting. So I wanted to refresh everybody's memory of where things are being thought of out in Enfield. And one of the central arguments that was made by, among others, our town supervisor, Stephanie Redmond, was that maybe we shouldn't locate downtown, maybe we should locate in vacant space at the shops at Ithaca Mall. There's a big space on the south end of that mall that is empty, where Dick's moved out, when Ulta Beauty moved out, and who knows how many other stores will move out of there. And it was the supervisor's contention was it's a crying shame that that space is going to waste. She hates to see wasted space. Meanwhile, it is very inconvenient for people from the rural reaches of Tompkins County, like Enfield, to come downtown. They don't like the parking. They don't like the congestion. It's easier for them to drive up to the mall or up by the airport somewhere where there is open space and there is free parking. And that was one central argument. The other argument that was made, and I raised this because I got a long memory, and I remember when Joe Mariana was our county administrator. And he was on board in about 2009 or so when a center of government project over at the old library site was considered. And at that time, he famously said, you know, I'd like to plan for a center of government, but I can't make a business case for it. Can't make a business case for it. Can't make the dollars and cents work. Can't say how much we'd save versus how much we'd spend. In other words, we'd spend more than we save. Now, at the Enfield meeting, one of our legislators countered that argument by saying, that was then, this is now. The circumstances are different. I would argue, yes, it is different now than it was then. The numbers may be different. They may look different because costs have gone up, both rental costs and construction costs. So it may be different, but the principle remains the same. And that is, we want to make sure that we are not going out of our way to burden the taxpayers with a 50, 60, maybe even more $1 million project that will add on to the tax bill. And I will say, this presentation, very polished, very good, but there is an underlying premise that this is a done deal. And I guess we're looking back about 3 weeks when the county legislature passed a resolution by a 9-4 vote that said we were going to go ahead with this. I know one legislator that I respect very much. I asked him at a town board meeting. I said, is this an irreversible decision, what you made the night before? And he said no. And so we've got to realize there are options still on the table. And I would like to see those options pursued. I'd like to see us consider a place like the shops at Ithaca Mall as an alternate location, see how much that would cost versus how much that would save. Also, maybe vacant land up by the airport somewhere where we could build a county building on county land. That might save money. And so I think these options have to be pursued. And there are a lot of design possibilities that I expressed to the people who attended that Enfield meeting. I won't waste time going into them. They should be on the record. But I think this is a project we really have to consider very, very carefully. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lynch. Yeah, are there any responses?
Well, I could do a response, but I have a question too. So when we talk I'm really more kind of interested in some of the renovations that are being talked about. Like when we talk legislative offices, are we talking like these offices here? Like what offices are we? So this all will be gone and this office will be used for something, I don't know.
So yes. So the goal for this building is to take out the offices on the side, open up more public space there and restore it to its original form. The offices would be relocated one floor down, and that would be renovated and have a conference room. That conference room would have a vestibule to the exterior that wouldn't give access to the other offices and may be used from outside also without security issues.
So it'll kind of replace the room across the way.
Yes.
Right. Okay, okay. Cool.
I have a question. A while back when we started talking about moving departments out of the courthouse, the grand jury room was going to stay in the courthouse. So that changed. Now it's going to be in the new building. And they meet, what, once a week?
Yes.
And so we're going to have different security for that.
Yeah, I mean,
I believe that anybody going to a grand jury room, I mean, if they're going to be in a grand jury, security should be really tight. So it should be private. So it's a whole different level of concern for me for that. So I'm sure.
I just want to respond to a couple of things Robert said, because I was on the radio the other day about this, and it came up about, did you look at other locations? And I didn't want people to think that we had not looked at other locations. We looked at other locations as recently as, I think, 2 months ago. There was a big foreclosure up at the airport. There were a bunch of buildings that are coming up for sale. Of course, it did what I felt was a pretty in-depth investigation of how, if we could do that. We already have a footprint up there, so it does make a lot of sense. We have the health department up there. But when he ran through the numbers, you know, the numbers, they were what they were, and they were actually relatively close to what this building seems to be costing us downtown. Also, we're a legislature of 14 people. Whether I agree that it should be downtown or not, it's not irrelevant, but the votes are that most people want to see this downtown. And so we have been trying to make the best location available that we could over the past few years. And when this land became available, certainly a center of government on that location seemed to make a lot of sense. So again, I mean, again, you have a legislature of 14 people. The majority think that this should be in Ithaca because it's the center of the county. Accessibility will be an issue. Holt is very well aware of the parking situation. That is something we are going to have to tackle during the planning stage now, so that not just our people have parking downtown, which I know is a concern for a lot of the people that are going to work in this building, but the public should have access to parking where they can come. If they have a grievance, there should be a place for them to park if they're driving in from Lansing or Groton or Enfield or Newfield or Dryden, and Caroline, obviously. So I know I forgot Danby, sorry, Dan. Danby. So that is not something that's not on our radar. I have talked to a number of developers. They're concerned about the costs because they say building downtown is just so much more expensive. Again, when we looked at the renovation work at the health department that we did years ago, the numbers, they were not as far apart as one might think. The mall has always come up as empty space. That has been talked about since we started talking about a center of government. And, you know, somebody's got to be willing to sell too. And the mall has not, heck, they have raised the rent there beyond what my roller derby team could afford. So I'm not really sure what their plans are for the mall, but I don't believe it has ever, and I believe we have approached them, it's ever included a center of government up there. So, and I think it's unfortunate what their plans are, to be honest with you. That's a high traffic area with a lot of parking with a bus route. And at one point they were talking about storage, and that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but it's not my property, so. That's about it. Thanks.
My concerns continue to be the parking, and I know that we have a parking study that's probably underway, and we're due to see the results of that. I would hope that we can do that sooner than later, because we're obviously paying architects and people to do these studies and drawings, and that's a lot of money. But if we don't have places for our employees to park, for people that are going to visit us to come and park, then I'm not sure I would actually be in favor for this project. With that aside, I also think there needs to be a commitment from the city to allow us to have some parking spots in the front of the building for people that have special needs, as well as elderly people who have some accessibility issues. I've also heard from some of our staff, and here are some of the concerns that they have. They believe that we're building this building too small and that we're already outgrowing the 40,000 square feet that you guys are proposing. The other feedback that I've heard is that there's not enough meeting room. They're concerned that we need more meeting room. Right now, we constantly use the meeting room next door. We have one in the basement here. And so that's some of the feedback that I've received from our staff about the existing designs.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from the public? Go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Zach Wynn. I saw you on YouTube and thought it was a wasted opportunity to not come by and say what I think. I recall the debate being whether to create a new jail or to go with the Center of Government building. And I thought it was a little selfish to decide to do the Center of Government building for the jail, because you folks occupy these buildings maybe 8 hours a day. There are people up at that jail 24 hours a day, which is now basically at full capacity. I recently visited somebody there, and it's kind of grody, and you know, it can get cold in the winter, hot in the summer, and it's not an ideal circumstance for somebody, you know, either leaving or re-entering the community to be in a less than ideal place like that. I've heard estimates for the Center of Government building between 45 million up to 70, and that just seems like an entirely too much money to pay when you have buildings you can use as they are now. The mall, well, not ideal. I mean, it is in downtown. And there's a lot of people who just don't want to come down here. I don't know how much stock you guys put into that perspective, but there are people who do not find downtown very inviting. And I think that is a justified perspective. So I think it's probably a little too late now. You've already acquired the property. The wheels are in motion, but the longer you wait, the more expensive it's going to get. The compounding costs of materials and labor and so on and so forth. But is this really the best use of like $50 million? When this is a perfectly wonderful meeting space, and it doesn't get used most of the time. There's also the option to have people work remotely, which a lot of people would actually prefer to do. I don't know how practical that is for government work, a lot of it, but you know, there's commercial property all over the place. There's a place down by where the jungle is, pretty much down over by where Buffalo Wild Wings used to be. That could easily be office space. There's no one moving in there anytime soon. And you would be, you know, perhaps helping out some of the taxpayers to rent properties and sort of spread out the presence of the government buildings instead of clustering them all in one spot. And I don't know how much buy-in you have from the city of Ithaca. That would be potentially a justification to put all of the government for the city and the county in one building and actually get some sort of cooperation going on. I know that's an ongoing issue that you folks are not necessarily on the same page 100% of the time. But in general, I just think it's not a good use of taxpayer money to spend $50 to $75 million on a new building when, you know, there's clearly more pressing and urgent needs. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any comments on that? Legislator Klein.
Thank you. I just want to say that I've never heard $75 million except from somebody that just said it, but I think our current estimate is 50 million. Is that accurate? Okay. It may cost more in the long run. I'm not saying it won't, but I think we should just use the number that we think is correct at this time. Thanks. That's right, and just, yes, thanks, Mike. I point out too that the $50 million figure is a soup to nuts figure, that it includes everything that's going to go into the construction, including moving the departments and all, the construction, the renovations of the existing buildings, moving back, furniture, soup to nuts. So that's our current estimate.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes.
Yeah, a couple things. One, I would really like us all to just be committed to the downtown location, because I think we already voted on that. And I don't know if this is like, I don't know how many options branch from this, but we've already have staff packing up their offices to relocate in response to the vote that we took. So I went to visit someone in a not public facing office last week, and there were, you know, boxes, paintings off the walls, like they are physically moving And so it's a little late to stop that train. In terms of, I know just this one anecdote, in terms of working remotely, I think there's reasons for not everyone to be working remotely all of the time, but there are a couple people in that office that work remotely some, and they are sharing an office. It's like multiple people sharing one physical office because they're not there all the time. So there is a bit of that. And then my unrelated comment is I would love this building to have public bathrooms because it's downtown and because that is a need. And I realize that takes maintenance, but this is something I've heard from constituents as well. And I think it would be a great service to the area. And maybe somehow a bargaining chip with the city. I don't know.
Thank you. Anybody else? No? All right.
Actually, just one more quick thing.
Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to mention, in regards to the jail, listen, that is something that we are going to have to tackle, but I don't want people out there thinking we've done nothing. I think, what was it, Mike, $7 million? Something along those lines that we invested? I figured you'd be...
About that, I think.
To do some pretty significant renovations to the jail, especially the HVAC system. I know that we worked on the kitchen. Some of the lockers, I believe, we dealt with. So jails are just very difficult to build. And so we, I think, did invest quite a bit of money into doing that. And that doesn't mean we're going to drop the ball on that. That just means we are trying to prioritize things. And the jail was a priority because we spent that money first. So it wasn't like we forgot about that.
It's in the slow cooker that.
Right. Yeah,
Fair enough.
That's another one I've worked on for 25 years. We had the opportunity about 20 years ago to move forward with the project. We had an engineering firm. We had schematic design, and we were getting ready to go to construction, so construction documents, and there was a vote of 8-7 to put the project on hold. And it's been on hold for 20 years. But yeah, you're right, the project that we just wrapped up a few months ago was a $4.75 million project, was basically stopgap until we're ready to do the larger project.
What was mostly HVAC? I know it was
HVAC, kitchen. We did a lot of work in the kitchen. We had done a building condition assessment. We couldn't do it all. We had to, initially, I was told $2 million. There was no way that we could have done what we needed to do, so we upped it to 4.75, but it was creating improvements in the dorm areas, in the cell areas, replacing secure ceilings, constructing posts for the corrections officers, kitchen, doing improvements in their control room, and also on the civil side, putting in a bulletproof glass in their civil office, and then locker rooms for the male and female locker rooms. So yeah, we had to spread the money as best we could throughout the facility.
All right. Thanks, Rob.
Legislator Lane.
You know, I've said this before, and I think it's so important about this project. The last time the county built a center of government was in the 1930s, and that was the main courthouse, and a lot of the county offices were put in there, including the legislature. And that has served us pretty well. That was during the Depression, and it was a very controversial project for the Board of Supervisors then of the county to move forward with a major project like that. Looking back, I think we're glad they did that. And I think there's probably no good time to spend $50 million at the county level. But I think, you know, when they look back in the future, they're going to be glad that we built the building, because it will be a building that's going to be there for 100 years or more, and it's going to service the people of the whole county. So I'm very pleased that we're moving ahead, and I'm glad to hear the comments from the public tonight. They're very, very important.
Thank you. Any final thoughts?
And I just want to add, in terms of the parking, it's very important to us in terms of what we're trying to do. And we're doing a lot of work with the city. We're having a series of conversations with them to see how we can integrate some degree of parking accessibility to the space. So currently we have forms in all the departments that have footprint to fill out by visitors. We want to know how long the people are spending in those departments, what they are coming in there to do, and how we can build that into the structure. We're also looking at a lot of technological advancement, how we can quickly move people out of the building. So in situations whereby residents are coming into county offices and spending maybe 20, 25, half an hour for services, if there's can be a technological improvement that we can move them out of the building quickly and they don't have to stay in the downtown core for too long if they really need to come to the offices and meet staff. So those factors are very important, and I think there is a lot of work going on right now to make sure that this is to serve the residents and making sure that we meet them where they are and come up with a solution that that can have the back end of the future as well, so that we can justify it, as Mike said, in 1,500 years, that this is worth it. As you can see, as Mike said, the courtroom, the court building now is one of our pride, that we really pride ourselves on what we have as a courthouse. And I think from what we are trying to do in some years to come, when we are all not here, somebody will also be proud of what we did.
Thank you. Final call. There you go. Legislator Peller.
Oh, Annie's got her hand up too. Well, I'll go. I almost don't want to go because those were beautiful closing statements. But two things. One, I guess, for anyone watching now or in the future, the survey that is currently displayed on the screen, I hope, has 3 questions explicitly about parking or transportation and with other room to comment. So please fill that out, general public, and let us know what you want. And also, someone commented how, like, as in questioning why we're building the new building, pointing out, like, look at this space. We have a perfectly, like, nice space. It's not used that much here. And this is a very nice space that we are in and that you see all the time on meetings. And I love it, and we're keeping it with very little modifications. But a lot of the staff spaces and offices that the public do not come into are nothing like this. Much, much, much less nice, and they deserve better and will work better with better.
Thank you. Well, let's keep it going. Oh.
Don't forget to get Ann.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks. So I just also wanted to add that we have a very robust green building policy for the county, and we will, try to adhere to that as much as possible. And it's very hard to renovate an existing building to make it, top of the line energy efficient, and to add in some of the features that we want. So that is not why we're shifting people around, but that is one of the silver linings of that we'll be able to do as we're shifting people around from the existing buildings, and and hopefully building a state-of-the-art energy efficient building at the new site. And we have a survey, investigative survey underway right now to explore if we can do kind of like a small district geothermal system for heating and air conditioning for our buildings that would be on this block. So that I heard from our planning department that we should be hearing about those results in the next month. Thank you.
Thank you. Are we going to keep it going? No? All right, so to wrap it up, as we heard, this project is not going to be done next week or even next year, so there's going to be plenty of opportunity to engage with the county administration and the project team. And so we created a project webpage that's up on screen right now, tcgov.co/COG. That's where most of the information will be stored and added as the project goes on. It also contains the survey that is still ongoing. And if you don't want to keep checking back on the webpage to see if there's any new information on there, there's also a link up there where you can sign up for our newsletter. And so basically, you follow the link and you select government updates, and there is a special section for Center of Government. So if you don't want to get any information for any other things that we send out, but this would be the one that you want to click on. And so whenever we update information on the webpage, there will also be information sent out through that newsletter, and that will land directly in your inbox. So those are the ways to stay in contact and stay in touch with what's going on with the project. On the webpage, there's of course our phone number and also our email address if you want to contact any one of us directly. But those are the project webpage would be the main page where you would go to find all the other informations. And with that, I would like to thank you, everybody, for coming tonight, and everybody listening at home or wherever you are, and enjoy the rest of your night.